You ready for the video?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Awesome. Hey, what's your name?
My name or my snake's name?
Your name.
I'm Nicole.
Nice to meet you. And what kind of snake do you got there right now?
This is a Burmese python.
Oh wow, Burmese python. Beautiful. What's the snake's name?
His name is Inky.
Great. And when'd you get him?
I got him sometime, not last fall, almost 2 years ago. He'll be 2 in like September.
Wow.
I don't use them, but like when he was little, I would meditate and he'd go right under my feet every time I'm under my bed.
Really?
Yeah, they're really woke about those things.
Present practice. What is vibing? This is Vish and
Nicole.
And today we'll be reacting to Sadhguru's video on
What Sadhguru likes the most about snakes.
do you ever find yourself stressed, anxious, or nervous? Well, that used to be me all the time, and then I found meditation. And now I've got hundreds of people on the meditation journeys, and I'll be soon coming out with the products, so stay tuned for that. And today, I'm here with
Nicole.
Want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Nicole, and I have a lot of snakes and plants. And I'm also down with all the meditation things.
Do you know much about Sadhguru?
Not a lot, but I have been following him on and off for about 5 years.
Okay.
So I'll watch whatever YouTube. I'll just randomly click on a YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
Or I used to get his daily quotes in an email. It was always really comforting. And sometimes like they're always like spot on. You're like, I needed this today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Houston.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Sadhguru is a yogi, mystic, and visionary. And with that,
Let's get into it.
there we go.
Sadhguru, how do snakes die? Where do they die? Because we don't see ever a dead snake unless it's killed by somebody. This is something very wonderful, particularly cobras. For over 18 to 20 days, they will not eat anything and sit in the same place. And they'll die there. At one time, out of misplaced compassion, I have brought… Somebody was asking me, Sadhguru, how do snakes die? Where do they die? Because we don't see ever a dead snake unless it's killed by somebody. They're asking this question in a tropical country, and I think it's relevant in California also, where there are actually millions of snakes, but their quiet lives, they don't show themselves too often unless you step into their terrain somewhere, and they don't show themselves, they're just there. So where do they die? This is something very wonderful, particularly cobras. When they want to die, when they know they should die, they will withdraw, find one perch somewhere and go sit there, and they won't eat. For over 18 to 20 days, they will not eat anything and sit in the same place, and they'll die there. At one time, out of misplaced compassion, I have brought down these cobras because I knew where they would be sitting. I would pick them up, bring them and try to force feed them, but do what you want, they won't accept a little bit of food. If you leave them, again they go and sit in the same place and they will die there quietly. I'm saying a crawling creature has that much awareness, knows how long this body should be on and when it should go. Similarly, your life and every other life has this consciousness as to when it should exit this body, either because we broke the body in some way or because simply the necessary intensity in the body doesn't exist anymore to sustain life. When I say a life decides when to leave, it's not like you think about it and you decide, not that kind of decision. In its own way, not with thought, Many decisions about who you are is not decided by your thought, it's simply made, isn't it? Like that, a life decides when to leave. As long as it's here, we will do everything to preserve it and to hold it and keep it with us because we cherish and value that life. But once it leaves, we must respect that because that life has chosen to leave. Now when I say life, I'm not talking about the person, I'm not talking about the personality, I'm not talking about variety of thoughts and emotions and activities that person was involved in. You as a person never want to leave because you want to be an endless psychological drama. But life wants to leave at a certain time. Whether you like it, you don't like it, life wants to leave because it doesn't want to be trapped in the physical form that you have gathered forever. It doesn't want. It enjoys the physical form only to a certain length of time. After that, even if everything is well, many lives leave. You will see this particularly in India. Yogis will decide when to leave. When they're very healthy and well, they sit down and they leave. Other people think, why he was healthy, why should he leave? So you want to get sick and die? Do you want to suffer in the hospital for 3 years and then only leave? Is that the only way to go? Is it true that the final thing that you do in your life is death? Hello?
Yes.
So the last thing that you do in your life, is it not very important that you do it gracefully?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
You're all from Los Angeles, you must do it in style, isn't it? At least gracefully. Is it also not important that other lives who are around us, when their time comes, we must facilitate that they must be able to leave gracefully, not make them a victim of medical industry that's going on around us? Hello?
Yes.
Tell me, what purpose does it serve if you stretch a life which is about to exit now for another 3 months with all kinds of supports? 3 months you stretched it in pain and misery, what does it mean? It just means that you're ignorant about the nature of life and you want to cling to something that you know and you don't want to know anything that you do not know. It's very important. We know the person, we know this person and this person and this person, that's fine. We've enjoyed their personalities, but you have not touched the nature of their life. Because unless you touch the nature of your life, you cannot touch the nature of another life. So the most important thing we need to do is, we don't have to talk about death, prepare for death, nothing is needed. What we need to do is, beyond this body, which we have gathered, which you agreed with me that you accumulated this, beyond this mind, which is also an accumulation of impressions and information, beyond your accumulations, if you sit here right now and experience the life that you are, you will have absolutely no issue with any aspect of life, which includes death. Death is not another thing. Death is an ongoing thing. Right now, all of us are dying slowly. One day it'll be complete. You think it's going to suddenly happen one day? It is already on, isn't it? Hello?
Yes.
Is it not on? It is on in every one of us. Should we not conduct this process? See, you can call this right now, I can say I'm living. Another way of saying it is, I'm dying. We want to stretch it as much as we can. But to know this experientially, not trying to figure this intellectually is most important, because intellectually if you figure, you will always be one against the other, because this is the nature of intellect, that intellect cannot perceive anything without creating two. So you have created life and death. There's no such thing as life and death. Life and death is one package, isn't it? Hello?
Yes.
It's one package. As we are living, as we are also dying right now. The question is how gracefully you do it. If you learn to do this moment absolutely gracefully, you will also conduct that moment absolutely gracefully. That is not a different kind of moment, that's the same moment. In the yogic science, it goes like this. Every inhalation you are born, every exhalation you die. When you were born as a little infant, the first thing that you did was inhalation, isn't it? What do you think is the last thing you will do? Exhalation, isn't it? Right now when you sit here, inhalation, exhalation, inhalation, exhalation, next inhalation did not happen, and suddenly a big man is gone, poof. Yes or no?
Yes.
That's how fragile it is. I want you to see this. Every moment it's happening. If this exhalation which went out, if it doesn't come back, this one is gone. How many things a man can do? But at the same time, just see how fragile this is. This is… you're yo-yoing with your life every moment. If you don't know how to pull it back, it will go away. But it doesn't feel like that right now. I am real. I'm not going to die today. A whole lot of people thought so before you and me. We must understand mortality is the fundamental reality of our existence. If you do not come to terms with this one thing, believe me, you don't know any other aspect of life in reality. You know only the drama.
I mean, I really like how like abrupt and honest he is. Like, always like, okay, like if you don't do this, then you're not like screw the rest of your life. Like, because you just like you're not getting it. It's really incredible.
So Nicole, what'd you think of that video?
That's pretty lovely. I always love how on point he is on all the things. It's also really humbling, I think, because I spend so much of my day trying to not be here, but like automatically this is what wants to run the show. So it's very humbling to be constantly stopped, which is what he's good at. Like just being like, hey, this is not what's running the show. Life is more than mortality is part of the thing.
Yeah, that's super on point. And I've also realized too from… are you with Eckhart Tolle?
Yes, I have one of his books somewhere in my room.
Awesome.
The Power of Now.
Power of Now. Beautiful book.
Yeah.
And it was this really interesting realization I had, which I connected from Eckhart himself, which was the idea that, if I were to ask you actually, the opposite of death, what would you describe it as?
Is there an opposite of death? I mean, it's a part of life. I don't want to… I think the automatic answer would be like birth, but I don't think that's accurate, because I don't think we ever really die as infinite beings.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that perspective, and it seems like you've gone even deeper into that than I expected, because for me, I feel like most of us, especially in the society we're brought up in, would associate the opposite of death would be life. It's like life and death, life and death.
Yeah.
It's like that very contrary
That's what
thing.
we're taught, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think you definitely touched on it, and it's the idea that it's not life, but it's birth. Like literally. I mean, going deeper into it, I think you're absolutely right. But at the very surface level, it's literally birth, not life. And life is eternal.
Like all these gods and goddesses. I forget. The one that's like the creation goddess of…
so Hindu mythology, or…
I think so. To be
It's Brahma.
but that's where the darkness is. But that is also where life also starts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So super on point with that, and I guess as I've realized, life is eternal. Life is essentially forever, which is really cool.
It's just a little joyride right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, with regards to what he mentioned earlier with the snakes and like how they die. Are you familiar with any of their processes at all?
I haven't had a snake die on me yet, so I'm not familiar. But that just makes… I like hearing what he said, because that's also very humbling. This animal that everybody hates, like, actually spends time to… understands that it's about to die, unlike most of us don't really understand that we're about to die, and takes that time, whether they're like cognitively aware of that or not, to die, to like honor the space. I think cats do that too. Like wild cats, they go somewhere they disappear, and you're like, where did it go? And then you find out.
Very
not
cool.
to get too morbid, but that's a thing.
Well, thank you for sharing. As he says, death is very important. So I mean, there's nothing really morbid about that per se. And that is interesting, because as I've learned from Sadhguru himself, it's the idea that snakes are actually very conscious beings in a way, because literally their whole body is actually on the surface of the ground or the earth, for instance. And for us, it's just our feet. And so it just shows how relatively less life sensitive we are compared to them, because they're always completely grounded, literally.
Well, and their food is like, they rely on heat. They're heat sensitive, and they can't see as well as other animals, so they're like literally relying on the vibrations around them to tell them what is food and what is not food.
Absolutely. And was there anything else you learned from the video that you connected with, or that you just, that stuck out to you?
I like the inhalation every time you breathe, and then the exhalation is death part.
Yes.
That was nice.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what did
Kadir
think?
I think he's like, I already know this already, lady. I already know.
Wow.
Yeah.
A very beautiful creature right there. Awesome. I think if you were meditating right now, you probably heard what he said. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you sharing your perspective as well as views from this video. And as to you, Kadir. And with that, if you have any other video requests, you can comment down below. And with that, make it a great day. Take it joyfully and stay conscious.
Stay conscious.
You did awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Great. Sweet.
This is Kadir, Kadir. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but he is a pastel pied ball python. This color is not natural in the real world, but in the pet game, in the gene splicing game, this is a cool combination color. And I think he'll be 2 in August. I think he'll be 2 in August.
Awesome. Well, let's see what he has to say about Sadhguru too.
Yeah, let's see.